friends, welcome back. It's Deb from Bowl Me Over. I appreciate you joining me today. I'm hoping that you can like and subscribe. I would so appreciate that. But today, before I talk about any of that, let's talk about what I'm making, which is ground beef taco dip. It is perfect for Cinco de Mayo, and I'm really excited to show you all of the ingredients and how simple this is to make. The full recipe's on the blog, but just in case. So we're gonna need some cream cheese. We're gonna use a little bit of cheddar cheese, ground beef, of course, because this is ground beef taco dip. Sliced olives, sour cream. We have some red onion, but you could use green onion if you'd prefer. Some Roma tomatoes. We have taco dip, or taco seasoning, and cilantro. So that's all we're gonna need to make this amazing dip. It'll be perfect for your party, I promise. Okay, our first step in the simple dip is to blend together cream cheese, sour cream, and taco seasoning. So that's an 8-ounce brick of cream cheese and 2 cups of sour cream. And you want your cream cheese to be room temperature. It's going to be a lot easier to blend that way. And so it's just kind of simple, but it's just going to take a quick minute. And just blend it together. Start your blender on like slow, because if you start it fast, it's gonna whip everything everywhere. And before I add the taco seasoning, I want to make sure this is well blended first. It makes a super creamy, and this isn't like hard at all. This will be popular for the party, and it's good dip for Cinco de Mayo when you're having a beverage or two, your guests have something in their belly, right? Okay, I'm gonna increase that speed a little bit because we want this creamy and not chunky, right? And see how nice and creamy that's looking? Wonderful. Now, I'm gonna just turn my blender off real quick and add in some of the taco seasoning. And it's gonna be a full packet. For this, personally, I recommend like the less sodium because you're using 2 packets of taco dip and you're not sitting there and eating this like a taco. But if you're watching your sodium, it's just something to be careful of. Okay. Honestly, it already smells good too. And we just want to mix it until we don't see any more swirls of color. I'm just going to stop and just kind of wipe down the sides because we want that seasoning, all that seasoning into the dip and not stuck on the side of the bowl. You know what? I think that's perfect. Okay, so our next step, it's really simple. All we're going to do is transfer the sour cream, cream cheese, taco seasoning mixture into our casserole dish. You do not need to spray your casserole dish. This isn't going to be baked, so just so you know, you don't need to do any of that. It won't stick or anything. So just transferring it in, super simple. And then we're just going to smooth it out to make sure that it's ready to go. And then all I'm going to do is put this in the refrigerator. While I'm cooking the ground beef, I want to make sure this firms up a little bit in the fridge. And that's it. It's that simple. So we are just going to brown the ground beef until it's no longer pink. I'm going to drain the fat, and then we're going to add the taco seasoning and some water. Okay, so our sour cream mixture is ready. It's chilling in the fridge. Our ground beef is done. It's all saucy and delicious. Now we're gonna take the next few steps to complete our dip, which is, first thing we're gonna do is start with tomatoes. I'm gonna use Roma tomatoes today. You could use any type tomatoes that you prefer. If you use a larger tomato, make sure you seed it. And here's a little tip, maybe something that you didn't know, which is tomatoes should be stored on the countertop. Don't put them in the refrigerator, because if you put them in the fridge, they will become kind of mealy and they just won't taste as good. So just something if you hadn't heard that before. And for this recipe, we're going to use 2 Roma tomatoes. We're just going to dice them up really quick. And push that over to the side here. The tomatoes just add some flavor. If you want to, so this one's kind of seedy right here, I would toss that. And the reason that I would toss that is because you don't want your dip to be runny. You just want it to be pretty and delicious and bright and all the things. So that's 1 tomato. Okay, so our tomatoes cut. Now it's time to start the onion. You know, if you don't want to cry when you're dicing onions, a good trick is to make sure it's refrigerated. You could even pop it in the freezer for like 10 minutes, but that 10 minutes is going to, all the juices and stuff kind of form, and it won't make you cry. So that's just a little tip. I always keep mine in the refrigerator. When I'm cutting the onion, hold your knife pretty tight, and it just makes it easier to dice. You're going to have more control over it. So let me dice this up really quick. We only need half the onion. Okay, so our onions are cut, our tomatoes are diced. The only thing we have left is the cilantro. Now, a lot of people will just take off the leaves and toss the stems. I will actually cut a little bit of the stems and toss them, but the rest of them, they all go in my meal, in my whatever I'm serving, because the flavor, so much flavor of a cilantro is in the stems. So why waste all that goodness? So just give it a rough dice. That's all we're looking for here. Okay, I almost forgot to shred the cheese. So just have some cheddar cheese, and I'm just gonna give it a quick shred. Now you could use store-bought shredded, like pre-shredded cheese. It's not gonna taste as good. And for something like this, when it's just such an important part of what you're doing, take a minute, just shred your cheese. It's not gonna take any time at all. So poof, we're done. Okay, let's put this together. Okay, so now we're ready to assemble this fabulous dip. I know you're gonna love it. It's really simple. We have the cream cheese sour cream mixture, which has been refrigerated. Our ground beef is done. The cheese is shredded. All the veggies are cut, so now all we do is put it together. It's so simple. Start with the ground beef. And it's like, oh my gosh, this can be served cold or like warm. When I say we, I mean this wonderful man behind the scenes and me are gonna enjoy this warm tonight. But you could refrigerate it, build it, and put it in the refrigerator a couple hours before your party. So that's perfect. The next thing you want to add is the cheese, and just sprinkle it right over the top. And you just don't need a whole lot. Some cilantro, some tomatoes, some onions, and it's kind of like to your taste and everything too. And last but not least, I don't want to forget my olives. I almost forgot them. I'm a big fan of olives. So, okay, it's time for a party. The dip's done. Isn't that good? So the proof's in the pudding though. I'm gonna give it a taste, okay? All right. This is gonna be tough because a TV bite of this is not, it's not easy to do. That is so yummy. The sour cream is all like creamy. The meat's flavored well. The cheese and onions and tomatoes, perfect. You're gonna love this dip. Now before I go, I want you to, before I go, I want you to make sure, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my page. I'd really appreciate that. That way you'll get all the notifications and all the good stuff. But make sure you give this a try. You'll find the full recipe on the blog with some extra tips and tricks. And I think it's something you're really going to enjoy. Look forward to hearing your feedback. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.